The story of the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny is not just about a small copper coin, but about an entire era in American history, the evolution of U.S. minting technology, and the passion of collectors who continue to treasure even the most ordinary seeming cents. To begin with, we must understand that the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a U.S. coin, breaking away from classical representations of liberty. The coin itself became an enduring national symbol of respect for Lincoln's legacy, with Victor David Brenner's design capturing Lincoln's profile in careful detail. By the mid-20th century, the Lincoln cent had already cemented itself as the most common coin in circulation, and every year the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions to meet demand. In 1955, 3 mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, were operating, each striking its own batch of Lincoln cents marked with different mint marks. Denver's coins were distinguished by the small d beneath the date, and in that year, it struck over 563 million pennies, a massive output that speaks to the coin's place in everyday commerce. The 1955 D cent is not the famously double-die error variety that came out of Philadelphia the same year, but it still carries its own significance because of the sheer volume produced, the history surrounding its minting, and its continuing presence in collections. When we look at a 1955 D penny today, we are not just holding a cent, we are holding a relic of Eisenhower-era America, a time when the country was moving out of the shadow of World War II, entering the Cold War era, and expanding economically in ways that would define the modern United States. Even the copper itself has a story, since pre-1982 pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, meaning every cent contained a piece of tangible metal wealth, unlike the mostly zinc pennies produced today. Collectors look at such coins not only for their condition, graded on the Sheldon scale from poor, P1, to mint state, MS70, but also for their historical connections, their circulation marks, and the sense of continuity they offer with generations past. To speak about the 1955 D penny is to open a conversation about history, metal, art, economy, and memory all wrapped into one small circle of copper alloy. Yet, to fully appreciate the 1955 D Lincoln wheat penny, we must dive deeper into the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. This specific penny exists at the intersection of the ordinary and the extraordinary. On one hand, with over 500 million struck, the 1955 D is considered a common date for the Lincoln wheat series, meaning it is easily obtainable for collectors starting out. On the other hand, its connection to the legendary 1955 double-die penny makes it part of one of the most talked about chapters in American coinage. Collectors owe. To expand the discussion of the 1955 D Lincoln wheat penny, one must also consider the wider context of coin production in the United States during the 1950s, a decade that represented both stability and transition for American coinage. The U.S. Mint was in full production mode, striking billions of coins each year to meet the demands of a rapidly growing economy, and the Lincoln cent was among the most heavily produced. Denver's mint in particular had become a central hub of coinage since its opening in 1906, and by 1955 it was fully mechanized, using powerful presses capable of striking coins at unprecedented speeds. Each 1955 D penny, though appearing identical to the untrained eye, was in fact the product of a complex series of steps: designing, hubbing, die creation, planchet preparation, striking, and inspection. This industrial process was not immune to imperfections, which is why minor errors like repunched mint marks, die chips, and weak strikes exist for the 1955 D issue. These small differences are what turn a common coin into a collectible curiosity, where even a misplaced mint mark can elevate a penny's worth many times above face value. The Denver Mint of the 1950s was also symbolic of the West's growing role in America's financial infrastructure, reflecting a shift in how the nation balanced its coin production between Philadelphia, the original mint, and newer facilities. Every 1955 D penny, therefore, carries not only the story of Lincoln but also the story of America's industrial expansion and the government's attempt to keep pace with a society that was spending, saving, and circulating coins on a massive scale. If we imagine one of these pennies moving through circulation, we begin to see it as a silent companion of mid-century life, passing through the hands of workers in factories, housewives at grocery stores, children at candy counters, and soldiers returning from service abroad. Its journey reflects the economic heartbeat of the 1950s, a time when coins were more than just currency, they were daily necessities in every aspect of commerce and personal exchange. Collectors, historians, and casual enthusiasts often ask what makes a 1955D penny worth collecting if it is so common. The answer lies in perspective. Numismatics is not always about rarity but about narrative, condition, and connection. While the Philadelphia double die error cent from 1955 rightly holds a legendary place in coin lore due to its striking and dramatic misprint, the Denver minted companion coin provides a grounding contrast. Where the double die is spectacular, the 1955D is steadfast. Where the error coin shouts for attention, the 1955D whispers with consistency. For collectors building a complete Lincoln cent set from 1909 through 1958, the 1955D is an essential piece, filling one of the final slots in the wheat reverse series before the transition to the memorial reverse in 1959. Assembling such a set is not merely about amassing coins but When we look more deeply into the 1955D Lincoln wheat penny, it becomes clear that its importance extends far beyond its face value and production numbers. It is a gateway into understanding how ordinary objects become extraordinary through the passage of time. The very year of 1955 was itself significant for American society. This was the year when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in Montgomery, sparking the civil rights movement, when Disneyland first opened its gates in California, and when Cold War tensions were shaping policies across the globe. Against this backdrop, the 1955D penny circulated quietly in the hands of citizens, becoming part of everyday transactions that built the fabric of mid-century life. Each coin struck at the Denver Mint was a silent observer of history, a tiny copper witness to the major shifts in culture, politics, and economics. The beauty of numismatics lies in this duality. Coins are at once mundane and monumental. They buy groceries, pay for phone calls, and get lost in couch cushions, yet decades later they resurface as relics worthy of study. The 1955D Lincoln wheat penny embodies this paradox perfectly. Though over 500 million were made, each individual coin carries a unique history. Some remain shiny in bank vaults, others wore down to smooth metal after years of use, and a rare few survived in pristine, untouched condition, preserved in rolls or forgotten in jars. Collectors treasure these differences because they transform the coin from a generic piece of currency into a personal artifact. To hold a 1955D penny today is to feel a direct line to the mid-20th century, a time capsule that doesn't just tell history but lived it. And so, what begins as a small disc of copper becomes a profound reminder that history is not abstract, it is held in our hands. The design of the coin itself adds another layer of meaning, and analyzing it in the context of the 1955D reveals how art and symbolism intertwine with currency. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse was revolutionary when first introduced in 1909, but by 1955 it had become a familiar national icon, deeply embedded in American identity. Lincoln's face was chosen not only because of his role in preserving the Union but also because of his embodiment of honesty, humility, and perseverance, qualities Americans still admired in the uncertain world of the 1950s. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date with the Denver Mint mark all framed Lincoln's image, combining patriotic ideals with practical information. On the reverse, the two stalks of wheat enclosing the words 1 cent and United States of America carried agricultural symbolism, a nod to the country's agrarian roots and the idea of nourishment, growth, and strength. By 1955, this reverse design was nearing the end of its run, but it remained a cherished feature of American coinage. The artistry of the wheat design was simple yet effective, Macon.